What if I told you that the doctor who almost had a stroke wasn't a patient? She was the doctor? Years into my career as a physician, I was waking up every morning doing exactly what I now warn my patients against. I thought I was fine. I was a medical professional. I was educated. I was careful. And I was quietly, unknowingly, putting my own brain at risk before I ever reached the hospital. That experience changed everything I thought I knew about morning health after 60. Because here's the truth that most doctors don't talk about in the exam room. The highest risk window for stroke in older adults is not during surgery. It's not during exercise. It's not even during illness. It is the first 60 minutes after you open your eyes each morning. And the habits driving that risk, they look completely innocent. They look like normal. They look like your morning. I'm Dr. Linda Harrington, and today I'm going to walk you through 7 silent morning behaviors that may be quietly putting your brain in danger, and the gentle, simple shifts that can protect you for years to come. Stay with me until point 7, because the most surprising one, the one that stopped me cold the first time I understood it fully, comes later, and it might be the habit you'd least expect. Point 1, reaching for your phone before your feet hit the floor. Here is a question I now ask every patient over 60 at their first appointment. What is the very first thing your hand touches in the morning? Most of them pause. Then they say, "My phone," and I say, "Tell me what happens next." They describe it almost identically. A scroll, some news, maybe a message from a family member, a weather check, maybe a headline that makes the chest tighten just a little. What they don't realize is that this is happening while the brain is still transitioning from its most defenses down state of the day. During sleep, cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, drops to its lowest level. The moment you wake, it begins climbing. This is healthy. It's designed to help you rise. But in adults over 60, that cortisol curve is steeper, lasts longer, and arrives in a body with stiffer vessels and less circulatory flexibility than it had at 40. Now layer on top of that a screen full of problems, a news alert, a frustrating email, an upsetting story. The brain responds as if the threat is real and immediate. Adrenaline spikes, blood vessels constrict, blood pressure surges, often sharply, in a cardiovascular system already under its natural morning strain. I treated a fictional patient I'll call Margaret, a 73-year-old retired teacher. She described what she called that awful dizzy feeling every morning around the time she checked her phone. She had no diagnosed hypertension. She exercised. She ate reasonably well. But her morning blood pressure logs, when we finally asked her to track them, told a different story. The spikes happened within minutes of her waking up, and they happened hardest on days she'd read upsetting news. Your brain does not know the difference between a headline and a lion. It responds to both with the same chemical alarm. And for an aging brain navigating its most fragile daily window, that alarm can have real, lasting consequences. What to do instead? Give yourself 10 minutes of silence or soft light before touching any screen. 10 minutes. That is the buffer your brain needs to stabilize before it faces the world. But that's only the first habit. What comes next is even more common, and it involves something most seniors actually believe is good for them. Point 2. Drinking coffee before water. I want you to think about the last time you woke up and drank a full glass of water before your coffee. For many of you, that answer is never, or at least not recently. Here is why that matters more than almost anything else in this video. During sleep, 6, 7, 8 hours of no fluids, your blood becomes measurably thicker. Your kidneys have been filtering. Your breath has been carrying moisture away. By the time you open your eyes, you are already in a state of mild physiological dehydration. Not dramatic, not emergency, but real and medically significant. Thick blood moves more slowly. It places more strain on the heart. It is more prone to clotting, and it reaches the brain with less efficiency. Now, what does caffeine do to that blood? It acts as a diuretic, pulling more fluid from a system that is already short. It stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, the same fight-or-flight system that is already responding to morning cortisol. And it constricts blood vessels at the very moment your brain is trying to restore full circulation after a night of reduced flow. For younger adults, this combination may cause no noticeable effect. But for adults over 60, whose cerebral arteries may already carry some degree of narrowing or stiffness, this convergence, thick blood, constricted vessels, rising pressure, is precisely the environment in which small clots form and small vessels rupture. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. Drink 8 to 12 ounces of warm water first, then wait 20 to 30 minutes. Then have your coffee. You don't have to give it up. You just have to let your blood thin naturally before you introduce a stimulant into a system that is still waking up. This one change alone, water before coffee, has been the first recommendation I've made to patients who later told me their morning dizziness, foggy thinking, and irregular heartbeats simply stopped. And we haven't even gotten to the habits that happen after you stand up. Because what most seniors do in those first few seconds of rising is one of the most underestimated stroke triggers I have ever studied. Point 3. Standing up too quickly. The moment your legs swing off the bed and your feet touch the floor, your body is performing a complex cardiovascular negotiation. Blood that has been distributed horizontally for hours must now, in a matter of seconds, be redistributed against gravity. The heart must increase its output. In a healthy 35-year-old, this happens so efficiently it's unnoticeable. In an adult over 60, the process takes longer. The vessels respond more slowly. The heart may hesitate. And if you stand too quickly, you create what physicians call orthostatic hypotension, a sudden drop in blood pressure as your body fails to compensate fast enough. This shows up as dizziness, brief visual darkening, unsteadiness. Most seniors chalk it up to just getting older. But what is happening is that the brain is receiving a sharp, momentary drop in oxygen. And for someone with even mild vessel disease or plaque, that drop can be enough to trigger a transient ischemic event. The solution: before you stand, spend 30 to 60 seconds sitting on the edge of the bed, doing gentle ankle circles and toe flexes. These small movements activate the calf muscle pump, one of the body's most important mechanisms for pushing blood upward, before you ask gravity to challenge it. 30 seconds. That is all it takes to protect the transition. Now, if standing too fast is dangerous, what happens when you combine that with rushing to the bathroom? Because that combination, one that millions of seniors experience every single morning, is far more alarming than either habit alone. Point 4. The bathroom rush. Urgency is a powerful force. And for many older adults, it is the very first emotion of the day. The need to reach the bathroom quickly is real, but the sequence of events that follows, standing fast, walking briskly, and then straining to urinate after holding it all night, creates one of the most physiologically stressful moments of the entire day. Here is what happens in sequence. You stand too quickly, blood pressure drops, you walk with urgency, your heart rate spikes, you strain to urinate. A reflex called the Valsalva maneuver engages, momentarily raising internal pressure and then releasing it sharply. Each of these events stresses the cardiovascular system individually. Together, they create a cascading pressure swing in blood vessels. In older adults, these swings can rupture fragile arterial walls or dislodge unstable plaque. Many of the early morning strokes I have reviewed over the course of my career occurred in or directly adjacent to the bathroom. Not because of anything dramatic, but because of this quiet sequence that nobody thought to question. The adjustment is behavioral and gentle. Wake up a few minutes earlier if you anticipate urgency. Rise slowly. Walk at a measured pace. Don't strain. This alone will not prevent every stroke, but it removes one of the highest risk combinations in the senior morning routine. I want to pause here for a moment. Because what you're hearing isn't scare tactics. It is an exaggeration. These are physiological realities that I spent years studying, and years living before I understood them well enough to change my own mornings. If this kind of medically grounded, senior-focused guidance is what you've been looking for, information that treats you as the intelligent adult you are, then I'd like to invite you to subscribe to Golden Glow Senior right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every week I bring you exactly this: the health truths that don't always make it into a 15-minute doctor's appointment, but that could quietly change the quality of your years ahead. Now, let's continue, because the next 3 habits are where things get truly unexpected. Point 5. Skipping breakfast or taking medications on an empty stomach. The brain has almost no capacity to store energy. Unlike muscles, which can pull from local reserves, or the liver, which holds a modest glucose backup, the brain depends entirely on a continuous, uninterrupted supply of blood sugar, every moment of every hour. When you wake up after 7 or 8 hours without food, that supply is already running on minimum. For adults over 60, whose livers are less efficient at releasing stored glucose, morning blood sugar is even more precarious. When blood sugar dips, even subtly, the body responds with a hormone surge. This surge raises blood pressure. It increases platelet stickiness. It promotes clotting. Now add medication. Many adults over 60 take blood pressure pills, anticoagulants, thyroid medication, or diabetes drugs first thing in the morning. Taken without food, these medications are absorbed more rapidly and erratically, creating sharp swings, sudden drops in blood pressure, unexpected spikes that the aging cardiovascular system is poorly equipped to handle. A fictional patient I'll call Arthur, age 72, experienced a brief episode of confusion and tingling in his left hand around 10 a.m. for 3 consecutive weeks. He attributed it to stress, but when we traced his mornings, the pattern was unmistakable: no breakfast, black coffee, and 2 medications on an empty stomach. His morning glucose was consistently low. His blood pressure swings were dramatic. A scan revealed evidence of a small vascular event, entirely preventable. A fictional patient I'll call Arthur, age 72, experienced a brief episode of confusion and tingling in his left hand around 10 a.m. for 3 consecutive weeks. He attributed it to stress, but when we traced his mornings, the pattern was unmistakable: no breakfast, black coffee, and 2 medications on an empty stomach. His morning glucose was consistently low. His blood pressure swings were dramatic. A scan revealed evidence of a small vascular event, entirely preventable. The next habit is one that surprises even the most health-conscious seniors, and it involves something almost universally considered healthy morning behavior. Point 6. Sitting completely still for the first hour. If you asked most seniors what a good morning looks like, many would describe something peaceful: sitting quietly, watching the light, maybe reading, letting the body ease into the day gently. And I would tell them that peace comes at a cost. When you wake up and remain still for 30 to 60 minutes, you are keeping your circulatory system in a state of near sleep activity while your brain is demanding full waking function. Your calf muscles, the body's natural venous pumps, remain inactive. Blood pools in the lower legs. Veins that have already lost elasticity with age struggle to push blood upward without the assistance of movement. The result is that your brain receives less oxygenated blood precisely when it needs the most. Silent microstrokes are far more likely during this prolonged, motionless window. A fictional patient I'll call Frank, a 74-year-old retired engineer, had a peaceful morning ritual. Recliner, newspaper. 1 full quiet hour before he did anything active. Over several months, he developed what he called spells. Brief, blurred vision, tingling fingers, a strange sense of slowness. Imaging revealed multiple tiny clots. The culprit wasn't what he was doing. It was what he wasn't doing. 2 to 5 minutes of gentle morning movement, marching in place, arm circles, toe raises, shoulder rolls, is not exercise. It is circulation. It is the difference between blood that moves and blood that stagnates. And now, at minute 7 or 8 of our time together, we reach the habit I consider the most important, the one that surprised me most, the one I want you to carry with you long after this video ends. Point 7. Ignoring your morning blood pressure. I want you to consider something most people never think about. When you visit a doctor's office and have your blood pressure taken, it is almost always mid-morning or early afternoon. You've been awake for hours. You've eaten. You've moved. That reading may have almost nothing to do with what your blood pressure looks like at 6:30 in the morning. And 6:30 in the morning is when the danger is happening. In the medical world, we call it the morning blood pressure surge. During the early morning hours, cortisol rises, adrenaline increases, and the cardiovascular system begins pushing blood harder and faster to prepare the body for waking activity. In young, flexible vessels, this surge is managed easily. In older adults, where arteries carry decades of accumulated stiffness, where plaque may narrow once smooth walls, this surge is the most dangerous cardiovascular event of the entire day, and most seniors never measure it, not once. I once asked a group of 40 patients over age 65 how many of them monitored their morning blood pressure regularly. 3 raised their hands, 3 out of 40. The rest checked in the evenings, when readings are typically lower, calmer, and least predictive of stroke risk. Here is what I need you to understand. A person's evening blood pressure can read a perfectly comfortable 128/76. That same person's morning blood pressure, the one happening while they sit quietly on the edge of the bed, can reach 185/98. And unless they check, they will never know. That invisible surge is silently damaging tiny vessels with every morning it goes undetected. It is creating micro-injuries in brain tissue that accumulate over months and years into cognitive decline, memory disruption, balance problems, or a sudden larger event. A home blood pressure monitor costs very little. It takes less than 60 seconds to use. And measuring your pressure each morning, before medication, before coffee, before activity, gives you and your physician a picture of what your brain is facing every single day. This is not optional for adults over 60. This is foundational. Knowing your morning number is not anxiety, it is power. It is the single most underused tool available to any older adult who wants to protect their brain. Before I bring everything together, I want to say something directly. If you are someone who takes your health seriously, who refuses to simply accept decline as inevitable, then Golden Glow Senior is your channel. Every video I create is built around one purpose: giving you the medically grounded, clearly explained, deeply practical guidance that helps you live longer and live better. Subscribe now if you haven't yet. And share this video with someone you love. 7 habits, 7 morning moments, each one invisible, each one common, each one quietly pushing the aging brain toward a risk that doesn't announce itself until it's already arrived. But here is what I want you to hold on to above everything else. The brain is not helpless. You are not helpless. The same physiology that creates these morning vulnerabilities also responds powerfully and quickly to the simplest of corrections: water before coffee, a pause before standing, slow movement to the bathroom, a bite of food with your medication, 10 minutes of quiet before you face a screen, 5 minutes of gentle movement before you settle in, and 60 seconds with a blood pressure monitor before the day truly begins. None of these require a gym membership. None require a prescription. None require you to become a different person. They require only this: that you look at your morning through the lens of who you are today, not who you were at 40, and give your brain the gentle, protective conditions it needs to carry you forward. I'm Dr. Linda Harrington, and after decades of practicing medicine, this is the truth I wish I had been told earlier. Your morning is not just the start of a day. It is a daily decision about the quality of all the days that follow. Make it count. If you found value in this video, please leave a comment below. Type 1 if this gave you something useful to take into tomorrow morning. Type 0 if there's something I can do better, because your feedback shapes everything I create here at Golden Glow Senior. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.